We are here to test your English skills. If this is your first test with me, then I highly recommend you go back to the first test and work your way up to this level. I'll put a link in the description for you. However, if this is your fifth test with us now, then let's get started. If you can confidently and correctly answer all of the questions in this video, you have achieved your C1 level of English. At this level, you should be completely confident and comfortable in academic and professional environments, as well as casual conversations with natives and non-native speakers. Reaching C1 means that you can understand long and difficult sentences, speak fluently without searching for expressions, and understand implicit meanings. I'm going to start off by reading you a real article which was published in the Guardian newspaper in 2016. It's quite a long article, so I will put the text on the screen so that you can read along. The writer, Peter Walker, explores how people who cycle in the city are at risk from other road users. Pay close attention, because after we've read the article, I will ask you some questions about it. Ask most people who ride a bike regularly in the UK, and they'll happily recount a list of terrifying or alarming incidents caused by the deliberate actions of another road user, usually someone in a motor vehicle. My last such incident happened just under a week ago, when a driver decided to overtake my bike very closely and at speed on a narrow residential street near my home in South East London. I was unharmed, but the driver was gambling on the assumption that I would not, for example, hit a sudden pothole and swerve or wobble. Inevitably, the congested traffic meant I caught up with the driver at the next junction. His relatively minor, but nonetheless very real, roll of the dice with my chances of making it home safely that evening had all been for nothing. That's appallingly common. A couple of things must be noted. First, however distressing such incidents can be, and there is evidence they help keep levels of cycling in Britain as pathetically low as they are, riding a bike is still safer than many people think. The average Briton would ride 2 million miles before they suffered a serious injury. Secondly, while some attempted to characterise such events as part of a war on the roads, it's nothing of the sort. Not least as the majority of cyclists also drive and would thus be somehow waging war on themselves. The thing to grasp is that it's about the person, not the mode of transport they happen to be using at that particular time. As well as cycling, I walk. I use buses and trains, sometimes drive, occasionally get planes. My personality is not changed or defined by any of those. I get the sense that all the forms of transport are populated by roughly similar proportions of idiots. They might push onto a train, barge past you on an escalator at an underground station, recline their plane seat just as your meals are being served. Ugh. Driving is, however, different in one way. It is the sole event in most people's everyday lives where there is a plausible chance they could kill another human being. It's not about morals, it's simple physics. If I hit someone at 12 miles an hour, even on my solid, heavy, everyday bike, it would impart something like 1,200 joules of kinetic energy. If I were in the last car I owned, a relatively tiny Nissan Micra, doing 30 miles an hour, you're suddenly at 100,000 joules. It's a very different impact. It's why police should take incidents more seriously than they generally do. It's why the driving tuition and testing system should be revamped to place far more stress on drivers' vast, overriding responsibility to look out for and protect vulnerable road users, those not cocooned within a ton of metal. The first is this. Despite the apparent belief of most drivers, cyclists are not obliged or even advised to ride in the gutter. If a rider is in the middle of the lane, it could be to stay clear of open doors on parked cars. It could be because the edge of the road is rutted and potholed. It might even be to stop drivers squeezing past when it would be clearly unsafe to do so. Also, bear this in mind. Even if they're absolutely convinced the cyclist is in the wrong, hold back and be cautious anyway. In the majority of urban traffic situations, your overtake will be a very brief victory. They'll pedal past you again in the queue at the next red light or junction. But most of all, remember that these are human beings. Unprotected flesh and bone seeking to get to work, to see their friends, to return to their loved ones. However much of a rush you think you're in, it never, ever justifies putting them at risk. Now, if you would like to listen to that article again, and I highly advise that you do, you can do so by going to this time in the video. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. You can pause the video after each question to write your answer. Then, once you've done so, play the video and I will give you the correct answer. At this level, your answer will likely be different to mine. If you are unsure about your answer, then put it in the comments along with the question number and I will let you know if it's right or wrong. So, number 1, why do you think the writer wanted to publish this article in the newspaper? And the answer is to increase awareness of the risks of driving dangerously around cyclists. Question 2. Despite the apparent belief of many drivers, cyclists are not obliged or even advised to ride in the gutter. Can you explain what the writer means and implies by using the word apparent here? By using the word apparent, the writer could be questioning whether drivers actually hold this belief or be surprised that they hold this belief. Question 3. What about the word obliged? What does that mean here? Obliged means you have to do something, either legally or morally. The writer is saying that the cyclist did not have to ride in the gutter or to the far side of the road, and that they can cycle in the middle of the road if they want to. Question 4. What justified reasons does the writer give for a cyclist wanting to cycle in the middle of the road rather than to the side? The answer? For safety. If they fear that the drivers will attempt to overtake them unsafely, or if there is an uneven road surface to the edge of the road. Question 5. What does the phrase "bear this in mind" mean? It means to remember something or to consider it when you make your own choices or form your own opinions. Question 6. Why do you think the writer decided to include this statistic? The average Briton would ride 2 million miles before they suffered a serious injury. The answer is to show that they are very unlikely to suffer a serious injury while cycling, because you would have to ride so many miles on average before this happened. I guess, despite the nature of the article, he wants to encourage people to take up cycling. Question 7. What are the advantages of cycling to work or school over other means of transport? Now, you could say it's better for the environment than driving. It's faster than walking and It's cheaper than most public transport systems. You could also say that you are not governed by public transport schedules. You can go when you like. Question 8. The writer uses the phrase cocooned in a ton of metal to describe car drivers. Why do you think he chose the word cocooned here? The word cocooned could imply safety, so it emphasises the added element of safety that a car can bring, unlike the vulnerability that cyclists face. Question 9. But most of all, remember that these are human beings, unprotected flesh and bone, seeking to get to work, to see their friends, to return to their loved ones. What is the writer trying to achieve with this sentence, and how does he go about it? The writer is trying to humanise cyclists and to make you feel sympathy for them. He uses words such as unprotected flesh and bone to show they're vulnerable, and uses everyday activities that we can all relate to, such as going to work and seeing friends, to make the reader feel as if they are the same as the cyclists. Finally, he referred to the cyclists' loved ones to make the readers think of their own loved ones and how they might feel if something bad happened to them. Question 10. What is your opinion of this article? Now write at least 5 or 6 sentences exploring positive and negative elements. Leave your answer in the comments and I will correct any mistakes for you. I can't wait to read your answers. Now, could you confidently answer all of those questions? Did you understand all of my questions and answers? If this was difficult or you got some questions wrong, don't worry. Just keep practicing and come back again at a later date. If you got all of these questions correct, congratulations! You're now at C1 level. And there is only one more level to go until you reach the tippity top. If you found that easy, then why not try out the top level C2 by clicking here? Or if you need a break, then why not check out one of these relaxing lessons over here. Right, I'll see you in the next video.